Hello everyone. Now I know what you're thinking. Who's this bloke? Right? Is he some sort of old-timey detective? No? Is he playing a live-action game of Clue?
So it was you. I was going to expose you. I know. So I choose to expose myself.
Please, there are ladies present.
No, I'm just a chap who really likes history. But you know, nowadays, who has the time to read books and do research and that sort of thing? That's where I come in. I'm Kaelan Burrows and I'm here to fill you in on history quickly. That's why I'm calling this show Rapid History. Or a play on the word, you know, maybe combine them together. Rapistory. So I've just been informed that rapistory spells out rapist stories. So let's just go with a brief history of the past. On today's episode, we're learning about the people that inspired the Lannister bloodline on Game of Thrones. The British Monarchy. Now, a monarchy is a form of government with, and get ready to have your minds blown, a monarch at the head of it. Now, a monarch is a sovereign head of state which really has like the highest authority in the land, well, sometimes anyway, much like the kings and queens of old. Other times they're more of a sort of an inspirational figurehead with little to no power, much like the history of the English crown is as long as it is bloody. Around 408 AD, the last of the Roman legions went back home to, well, to help it fall, I suppose. But this left the peoples of Britain to fend for themselves for the first time ever. But from the chaos, one man rose up to unite them all and create the England that we know today. King Arthur and his magical sword. Thanks for watching, everyone. Upon further research, it would appear that Arthur was actually more of a symbol, really, than an actual leader, which, you know, it's a shame. Because he had so much going on for himself, you know. He had Merlin, right? So you got wizards right there, you know. He had the Knights of the Round Table, so interior design. He had Camelot, you know, Broadway musical, and he had what? He had that dinner and tournament, you know, with the knights that sit in your sections or whatever, and you root for them.
Welcome to medieval times. I'll be your serving wench, Melinda. Might I fetch you something from the barkeep?
Anglo-Saxon England wouldn't actually be united until much later, around like 827, under the rule of Egbert. Wait, what? Egbert? Did I read that? Egbert. So Arthur's far-fetched, but Egbert we're okay with. Alright, I mean, at least it's before kings became obsessed with like naming 6 generations the same thing. Could you imagine Egbert the Fifth?
Now you're just being ridiculous.
The next 200 years saw the Saxon kings rule through Egbert's family line with a few, you know, Danes kind of sprinkled in. So we had such kings as Alfred the Great, you know, Edward the Martyr, Edward the Confessor, Ethelred the Unready, what? Harold Harefoot? Now someone's putting me on. 1066 saw the rule of the Norman kings, starting with William the Conqueror, who came from Normandy to confess that he was cousins with Edward the Confessor. So, I suppose that checks out. Anyway, he defeated the previous king, Harold II, and he basically used all his power to fuel his own armies because, you know, he was the conqueror. But anyway, he later died, falling off a horse during a siege in France. So apparently he didn't conquer horseback riding, I suppose. Anyway, he was succeeded by William II, also known as William Rufus.
Excellent!
Who died from a stray arrow in a forest.
Bogus!
He was succeeded by King Henry, who died from food poisoning. Hang on, did any of the Norman kings have a good go? I mean, surely King Stephen. Not you too. Not Stephen. Why? He was so young. How old was he? The next batch of rulers included Richard the Lionheart, who basically spent all but 6 months of his entire reign abroad, you know, leading military campaign after military campaign, including the Third Crusade, which I think, you know, we all remember as being just the tremendous success, you know, all around for everyone involved in it. So well done there. Then England went from having an absentee father to sort of a drunk stepfather in King John Lackland, considered by many to be the worst of the English kings, which is really saying something. I mean, how do you rate worse than Ethelred the Unready? The man had unready in his name. Was that? What? Cruel, selfish, and taxed the country until everyone turned on him. Alright, well, that'll do it. Now, John was followed up by King Henry III, a 9-year-old. Now, I gotta say, you know that you had a terrible reign when a 9-year-old is a step up. Now, Henry actually ruled for 56 years. After that, he set up the House of Commons, right? And he had Westminster Abbey rebuilt in the Gothic style, you know, which is incredible because I didn't even know that Goths were a thing back then, you know. But when I think about it, really, I mean, the Cure it's timeless, you know. I will always love you. I will always love. I've just been informed that Gothic had a different meaning back then. That's only because they didn't have the Cure, right? I mean, you know, both the band and for, you know, cures for various ailments and maladies. That brings us to the King Edward trilogy. So in 1272, we got Edward Longshanks, who wanted a united Britain. He was also known as the Hammer of the Scots, because he really liked giving it to him, if you know what I mean. I would personally like to apologise to all the Scots who might be watching, because I misunderstood the nickname. Apparently, you know, he battled the Scots, not, you know, Edward II was a bit of a weak sequel. He was incompetent and he was deposed in 1327. He was imprisoned and then he was supposedly murdered by having a red-hot poker shoved up his bum. Wait, what? No, what? We got to have a talk, England, because that is just sick. That is sick. It's Edward III, the Black Prince rises. Now, Edward III, he reigned for about 50 years, but his problem was that he was so ambitious to take over Scotland and France that it led to the 100 Years' War, which, you know, truth be told, actually lasted 116 years, but that doesn't look good on a postcard, so, you know. Anyway, also about 50% of England was wiped out by the bubonic plague on his watch, so, you know. Yay, Edward!
Bring out your dead. Here's one. Ninepence. I'm not dead. What? Nothing. Here's your ninepence.
Now, Edward's son was known as the Black Prince, and his son would succeed Edward on the throne. So now Richard II, he was just sort of a garbage reboot of Edward II's run, including getting deposed. Only difference really is that when he was murdered afterwards, he decided to do it by not having a red-hot poker shoved in his rectum. Sick. That brings us to the year 1399, but that's actually for the next episode. We'll be getting into the Lancasters, the Yorks, the Tudors, and a bunch of kings named Henry. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and a share, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when more brief history of the past videos come up. Thanks, and I'll see you all in the future.